showing up and being in doubt, showing up, and not having the answers, and showing up and being extremely frustrated. And so this is all part of the holding, in terms of holding vision. Today, this is Paul Kinnan Month in Sydney for Staging Success, Part 7, Holding Vision. And I'd like to open with this quote. Courage begins with a willingness to simply show up and be seen. And with leadership, that continues to be the biggest challenge for myself in terms of showing up and being vulnerable, showing up and being in doubt, showing up, and not having the answers, and showing up and being extremely frustrated. And so this is all part of the holding, in terms of holding vision. And it's about holding center as an expression in terms of who we are, in terms of our role as leader. And it's not about trying to spot fire, trying to deal with individual upsets and indignations. It's about holding vision, and that vision comes from holding center and being clear on what we need, to be present and to be receptive and to be responsive. So that's all we can do in the end. And one aspect that was it's obvious but necessary was delegation. And I found that I had encounters with an actor or two that I just laid in the piece, and we're all sort of focused on that opening. I couldn't resolve the different point of view we had. So I simply asked another member of the group, to work and to collaborate with the actor. And it's, it really is essential, in terms of the team, that we have that capacity in the group, that others can help facilitate. When we're at a loggerhead, we can find another way. Others can facilitate for us. That was that was an unusual situation, but needless to say, it worked a lot better when I got out of the way. So isn't that interesting? I mean, I can show up and be seen, or I can get, way out of there because it's just not working. So that, it's, again, the polarities are rich, in the role of leadership. But that's just one situation where the good old delegation was the only way forward. And the other aspect of holding vision is the challenges around compromise. And it's really, it's okay, because again, at the beginning of the project, we've set this intention and we've set this invitation, to collaborate and to have a conversation, around creative ideas. And what's important is this, the impetus, or the ongoing growth of the project isn't wholly and solely on my shoulders, that others are bringing their particular strengths. So compromise is a natural way, and I think what's good is that I'm just sort of thinking through any particular compromise that really undermined the overall performance. And there are decisions that are made, and sometimes there's diplomacy that's needed, and agreements are made, and it's tricky, because I can feel part of myself thinking that this is not really in integrity, to condone something which is not, which inwardly that I have reservations for. But let's take a step back and let's look at where we're going. We're now, in terms of our series, we're week 7, and if this was the production, if this was the project, we'd be launching next week. So really, you don't really want to upset the apple cart, to use an expression, and you want that apple cart with all the apples, pulling into market, delivering. So that's really where I'm at this point in the series. If we would take it back to week 1 and to week 2, if an idea came in out of left field and there wasn't a conversation, then I would need to, I really need to question, where that idea is coming from. So holding vision, and I think as I just touched on at the outset, it's that it's that holding to one's vision and one's center in oneself. And it's not being exclusive, and it's not being combative in holding vision. And yes, there'll be compromise, and yes, there'll be a need to delegate. You know, if things are at this late stage, you know, there still isn't a harmony, you know, between some of the personalities. But it's also about people knowing, and the majority of the group will be on board, you know, fully with that shared vision. The majority of the group will have set aside, you know, their own individual ambition, and they will be working for the collective in terms of the overall result. So that's that's what I'd like to share to this week in terms of holding vision. Next week we move to harvest, and in terms of the metaphor, that's kind of obvious, isn't it? So we're going to bring it through to that culmination of all the you know, all this endeavor, all this showing up and having a willingness to be seen. So I look forward to catching you for our last session next week. Stay well. Thanks for your company.